Hey, what's up, guys? It's your homie Revo here, bringing you my next mental health blog. This episode, I'm pretty much just going to be talking about my coming out story, which naturally is going to be a very vulnerable. It's a very vulnerable talking point. So I guess I should start off with go all the way back to childhood. Well, okay, so when I was a kid, I was a very sensitive and like very highly emotional, like very emotionally sensitive kid. All like really, I'm still a very emotionally sensitive and highly sensitive person now, even as a nearly 26-year-old adult. But growing up in LA, especially growing up in South LA, how it is growing up in the hood, and being a very being a soft and emotional like young quote unquote young boy, because I was socialized male. So growing up in the hood, being traits such as like being feminine, sensitive, soft, all of these things, on top of already being like a very nerdy kid, because like I was already like big into gaming, anime and stuff. So so naturally, I guess in a way, it was like my mom and my older brothers and stuff were just trying to protect me by toughening me up. So, which I can't really blame them for, because the environment I grew up in. But, but that all that, and not to mention, like when I was as a young child, I also looked like a girl. Like when I was younger, I had really long, thick, feminine hair. Yeah. So I had really long, thick, naturally feminine hair on top of being naturally shy and introverted. And also, despite growing up with four older brothers and a bunch of other like male cousins around my age, I preferred to spend time with my female cousins who were near my age. And I clearly remember there would be times where I'll go visit my auntie and my cousins and stuff, and my female cousins who were near my age will all be like playing with Barbies and like dolls and stuff, and like practicing makeup and stuff. And and like and like I'll be watching them, and I was clearly interested, and despite I was interested, like despite being interested, like the reason why I never pursued it is because it's because even at a young age, like even as a young child, I was very aware of how like queer people, like gender nonconformity was perceived in society, and I already knew that pretty much like exploring that side of myself, even if subconscious, because I was like a 5, 6-year-old child, so this was all subconscious at this point. But already having that sense of like societal stigma and shame already drilled in me, it's like, so my solution was natural. You're gonna like run from it. You're gonna suppress it. You're gonna go into the closet. And so yeah. And so growing up, already like living, like having like these societal beliefs and this stigma of mine, and already being like a very sensitive child. And like I remember like my first day of school in first grade, going to my old school. I remember walking into a class. No, it wasn't okay. Like now that I think about it, I say my first day, but it wasn't the very first day of the semester, because I transferred schools in the middle semester of my first grade. But it was my first day at the school, and I remember walking into class and then meeting my teacher, like my first grade teacher, Mr. Garcia. And then I walked into class, and then like my teacher, he was like, "Oh, hey everybody, like we have a new girl in the class." And then yeah. So and then after my teacher pretty much like announced me as a girl in front of the whole class, and I'm standing there just and just blushing very shyly, like just trying not to make eye contact with anyone, because because at the time, well, like in retrospective, like in current time, I understand now why I felt so embarrassed or so shy. It's because like low key, it's because deep down low key, I liked it. It's like I like the fact that everyone and like everyone from not just from like the teacher's perspective, but also even the other boys and girls in the class. Like I first thought I was a girl because because like when I was in first grade, I was 6 years old at the time. I have an old picture of me from my kindergarten graduation that I may put at the end of the video just for reference. But yes, I look that much like a girl, and I loved it. But I also taught myself to hate it. I taught myself to hate my sensitivity and all that because I already knew it would make me a target. So again, I suppressed it, but so I suppressed it, yeah. But and also I remember after my teacher announced me as a girl, I remember one of my childhood best friends, who I'm still friends with to this day, but I'm not gonna mention their real name. He walked up to me and he's like, hey Jalen, like basically all shyly and flirtatiously, like even though we're kids, but like you guys know how it is, like having schoolyard crushes as a kid when like like think about it from a little boy's perspective, being a little boy, and then you're just and there's that one girl in the class who you think is cute, you have like a schoolyard crush on. It was one of those situations. And then I remember like he addressed himself, and I remember having to tell him, I'm like, dude, I'm a guy, and I have to shut that down real quick. But yeah, but that was one of my earliest recallings of having gender dysphoria as a kid. But anyway, to make a long story short, after that initial experience, I like it went from being like one of those things there where I was like awkwardly taking pride in, and it's just like it's just lighthearted until getting bullied, made fun of, harassed by other boys on the playground. Okay, so fast forward around 2.5 years later, and I'm in third, going into fourth grade, and I tell my mom, "Hey mom, can I go get my hair cut?" And my mom was hella ecstatic to hear. Like she was hella happy because for one, she was tired of having to maintenance my hair so often, and the other reason she was happy I wanted to cut my hair was like honestly it was because my mom wanted me to toughen up. It's because I feel like my mom, she recognized these signs in me even as a kid, but it was one of those things where like it didn't come out 2 years later, and she didn't exactly recognize what it was yet, because I didn't recognize what it was yet. But anyway, that's besides the point. My mom takes me to get my hair cut when I'm like in third grade or beginning of fourth grade. I can't remember exactly which grade I was in, but it was between that time period. And at the time, I remember telling myself that I was happy, that was a good thing, that, like, hey, like, yeah, I'll start getting made fun and bullied now. But deep down inside, I was also really sad, and I didn't really want to cut my hair, but I cut my hair in order to conform to, societal norms, and also as a means of self-protection. Okay, so fast forward around 4 to 5 years later, and I'm now 13. I'm a 13-year-old eighth grader who is early in puberty. And if you remember how it was in middle school, like middle school dating and relationships, how in eighth grade, everyone is early in puberty, your homies are now getting girlfriends and shit, preparing for high school. And I remember I remember always feeling awkward in the locker room during gym class, having to change. And it got to the point where because it got to the point where eventually I flat out just avoided changing in the locker room, and I got to the point where I would start wearing my gym clothes, like my PE clothes, under my main clothes, so that way I can get in and out of the gym. So that way I could hide the fact that I could hide my boners and the fact that I was attracted to some of my male classmates. I hid and suppressed all this stuff for years, for all of my teen years, and for the first few years of my adult life, all the way up until 2021, in the middle of COVID, in the middle of the worst depression episode of my life, and after a major road trip with my family, and I had a great time, I finally said to myself, you know what? Fuck it. Like, it's time. It's time to break out of my shell. It's time to stop living in fear. It's time to be me. And I came out and I finally did it. I finally gathered up the courage to come out to my family in a big ass, long ass family group chat message. And everything went well, like, you know, for the most part. Like, my family were supportive. Like, most of my family was supportive for the most part, and everything went well until I attempted suicide the next day, because I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle the pressure of being out. I didn't think that there was a life in it for me, where I can exist as myself, where I can be true to myself, where I could just be, you know, just be me, just embrace the divine feminine. And then and fast forward nearly 3 years from my suicide attempt, and nearly 3 years from the day I came out to my family, and the day I started my social transition. You know, I started officially being me. And here I am today, alive, trying my best to survive, and with a positive message here for you today. And for all my trans brothers and sisters out there, for all of my queer brothers and sisters out there, I just want you to know that everything will be okay. And just continue to be you, continue to have hope, continue to believe in love, and everything will be okay. Thank you to anyone who actually took the time to listen to this. I love you all.